All right, welcome back to episode number 99. Episode 99. We're coming up on 100, and I know it's been a couple weeks that you have seen Sean or I, and Sean is traveling the entire world. If you haven't been following his page, he is literally going country to country to country to country to country and doing different retreats, training camps, teaching seminars, and a number of things before we square back up in Thailand. So today I have my man filling in. We have
Yeah.
Mr. Not Peter Parker. It's actually Jason Farrell of Level Up. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, just about the state of Muay Thai currently, everything that is happening that just happened at the IFMA Worlds, me not being in the IFMA Worlds actually, and a number of other things. And I'm really excited because Jason is someone that I think is more of a innovator in a way. I think you think outside the box, and I like to surround myself with those types of people. You know, there are a lot of people that are, traditionalists, and anytime that you're looking outside the box, it's really hard for some people to change, especially in a sport that's been around so long. And then it gets even more tough when it's Western coaches that, spent 2 weeks in Thailand, and then they think the wying and the traditional roots and everything that comes with Muay Thai that they see for 2 weeks that they get really excited about, and then having to change that. I think they're a little bit resistant to that change. And I mean, the numbers unfortunately speak for themselves when looking at the medal count. I think that's what was the biggest reality is, like, I saw a lot of, wins, some losses for the US within the worlds, but then looking at that medal count, I really created a dose of reality. So why don't you just go over what's been happening, like just the state of Muay Thai in the States, how this team was put together. This is probably like the first serious year that they, things got like really organized when it came to having tournaments around the country, being able to fill in the spots. It's becoming a lot more structured now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean that all that goes back to Corley. Michael Chase Corley. He's doing an awesome job getting everyone together, and with the tournament being in Mexico, I know he wanted to try to fill every single slot he possibly could, and just kind of rush this tournament with talent and put as many people in as we could. And it was just a rough one. I think we're going in the right direction. We're getting more people involved. More tournaments are trying to get involved. Like you said, we were talking about a little earlier about when I got back last year, like how fired up I was, and it's the same thing this year. Like
probably even more so.
Yeah, I think way more so this year actually. I think being this the second time that I've been now, so I feel like I learned a lot more this time. And last night I was up super late, just pestering promoters about adding in live scoring, and was like trying to man, why can't these amateurs do 3-minute rounds? And which is not possible, unfortunately. It sounds like anywhere, which I think is a bit of a bummer. But
so, what is your philosophy behind adding the live scoring? It's just because we want to assimilate to the worlds and competing in them, right?
That and I think it'll only do a lot of good. So it'll create urgency in the competitors. It also creates transparency in how things are being scored. I mean, I can tell you so many fights where we get through the whole thing, and at the end I'm like, all right, we won, and then they raise the other person's hand, and you're like, what the fuck, So I think if right in the first round something's not right, you have to pivot, and it gives you an opportunity to win a fight. And the thing is, I know it'll cause some controversy as far as people will like it and people will hate it. And I think people will go the negative route first sometimes, which I'm hoping if we can get into place, we can avoid a little bit, as opposed to right away being like, these judges don't know anything, they're terrible. I think what it'll do is it'll help kind of shine some light on the fact that some of them need a little education, And then instead of being negative about it, just being like, all right, cool. So we disagree. Like, a lot of people disagree. So we think that this group of people need to be trained a little bit differently when it comes to school. So we got to be, that's the other thing is, I think if we do it the right way and keep communication open and stay positive about it, I think it can only positively affect the athletes, that are competing in the sport. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's important for them and all of us to get used to seeing that score hit the board in the first round. And then you have that decision to make. Do you want to win the fight, or are you going to roll over and just die?
Do the names of the judges come up beside the scores, or just more for the athlete? Because I feel like it would bring accountability to the judges when their names are out there. This is something that's been spoken about on the Rogan podcast. Just even, I mean, you see in MMA, I think it's even harder in MMA because there's so many different, it's so dynamic when it comes to how do you score grappling versus striking, the significance of a takedown versus how many strikes landed and things like that. And once in a while, you just get that score, even if it's a draw, let's say it's a split decision, right? Like when one judge sees it completely different when the fight is really, really obvious. And I sometimes get even more pissed off at split decisions than I do at fights overall, because you have that one judge and you're like, oh, there's a judge tonight that just has no clue what they're talking, or like they're not educated whatsoever in this sport.
Yeah. I agree, and I think I feel like usually in the split decisions, it's not even an uneducated thing. A lot of times, unfortunately, it's literally just they like that one person, and they're like, I'm scoring the fight for him. I don't give a fuck what happens. Like I literally, like, there's been some fights where I've seen like complete landslides and it be a split, and I'm like, what possibly could you have been scoring? So I think that accountability at 100% will help elevate the sport. And there's some good points. I put up a post about it earlier about the crowd too. I think that it'll separate us from other combat sports, which is obviously a good thing for working on growth. And it gets the crowd more involved. If you get the first round score pops up and it's one person, and then round two the score pops up and it's the other person, like that third round is the shit right now, so like the crowd is like, oh my god, who's gonna win? And it'll generate a little bit more excitement in the crowd and educates them as well too. And then that's something that they're going to be talking about. Man, you should have seen it. There was this one fight where the first guy won the one round, and the second guy won the other round, and it came down to the third, and they were really going for it, or the fifth, or whatever it is. I think just all around it'll help. And again, like I said, making it transparent for everyone to see who's scoring what also shows us like who could use just some further education in how to score.
I can 100% agree with it changing the dynamic of the fight, because when I was sitting in the corners at all my fights for Lion Fight, and they have the Pat Miletich scorecard, I was looking at the scorecard between every single round when I fought Brett, and I knew I was ahead. I actually was kind of upset at one of them because I thought I won more rounds than were coming up, but I knew I had to win the fifth pretty much. I'm like, okay, so they're thinking it's even though some of the judges did score, like 4 out of the rounds.
Yeah.
So then when I was fighting Chip, the same thing came about. And that's why I kind of just let it go in the fifth, because I thought it could have been even, but seeing that I was down 3-1, they thought that I was down 3-1, even though it's, Pat's scorecard. At least I'm kind of getting a vibe of like what people are thinking, someone that's sitting in the ring, they're seeing something different than you do first person, like what you're feeling. I might feel good. I might feel like I'm landing shots, but what does it look like to the crowd? What does it look like to the judges? And going into the fifth round, seeing the score up there, it was just kind of like Hail Marys, like, okay, I got to throw Hail Marys, because if I don't, then, okay, I don't win a world title is going to be my first loss as a professional. So I got to go and throw them. And I actually started taking this a lot into account when I'm training my fighters, is just the aesthetic look of what you're landing versus how you're defending. and what you're doing within that ring. So I'm not just teaching technique anymore. I'm really talking about the aesthetics of everything that's happening and what it looks like to the judges. How do you separate yourself? Let's say you have smaller girls, you have a lighter fighter, right? Like you have a girl that fights at 108. A lot of the times it's such a volume game, right? So both have high volume. How do you separate yourself? With timing and distancing and really showing that you're landing those significant shots, getting out, hitting again, versus so many of them sit in the pocket and they trade and there's a lot of volume. And then when they enter the clinch, what is it? Knee, 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 knee. No, like we have to start turning. We have to start bumping, hitting them on the way down. We have to start bending them over when we're throwing the knees versus just slapping knees back and forth and fighting this volume game and then just hoping one judge is going to score it for you because they like the way you did it better than the other girl.
Yeah, that's a toss-up. Those fights are always going to be a toss-up.
Yeah.
And that's something that like the live scoring would also differentiate too, because then you're like, well, we know we could have done this more or whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, if you go back and think of any fights that you lost a decision and you feel a certain way about it, and like you could go back in that time and know where you were like in round 2, like everyone would choose to have the live scoring at that point. So they're like, we're gonna go in there and fight their ass off, you know?
Yeah. So getting to Ifmos, you guys got to Mexico. I mean, first of all, it looked so beautiful out there. So I was jealous a little bit, even though I'm heading to Thailand next week. It was definitely bittersweet finding out that I'm not going to be making it down to Cancun and it being a 2-day. I was only 2 days into the tournament for the suspension. So California is very, very interesting when it comes to dealing with their athletic commission. They're very I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of ego with their commission for some reason. Even when speaking to the people, like whenever you're trying to have like a one-on-one convo, it's like a real like power. They're making like real power moves out there. So you know they're the state that kind of sets the standard for all the other states, which I like. You know, California has always kind of been that way. Looking at the rest of the country, but yeah, it's just really interesting because, you know, look at the fights in Glory. They have guys that get knocked down. I mean, like knocked out pretty much, and then they go back out and they fight again in a tournament, and then they get knocked down, and then they go fight a third time in the same night.
Yeah.
So you're never got knocked down,
right?
Not even a flash, not a standing count, nothing, and then to be suspended for 45 days and to miss the worlds, you know, by 2. It was really frustrating for that to happen without a single knockdown happening while they're sending people out there to get knocked out after being knocked down in the tournament. It's like when Chris Camozzi fought in New York City. I mean, yeah, different state, but the same thing probably would have happened in California. You got to make the tournament go on. He gets knocked down. He goes into the next fight, and like you can tell when they're doing the fighter interviews, they're not okay.
Right.
They're going in that ring and they're, you know, like at 50% of who they truly are as a fighter. So yeah, you guys get there, you have the whole team there. What's the energy like? How's everything feeling?
It was good. I mean, it was hot. So, people, like a lot of people looked a little drained from the heat. The thing that I think one of the things that a lot of people and it's like, it was a good lesson to learn this year, I think too. The food situation was bad because you're on a resort that's like catered towards like drunk people, so they don't really care what they eat. Like it's like burgers and like very salty stuff. So there wasn't like a lot of places for the fighters to eat. And you
burritos, rice and beans everywhere.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And then or it was like a lot of like American style food, or you know, it wasn't ideal for sure. Last year in Belarus was a little easier. So we found this place called Chill Out Cafe that had like grilled chicken and like vegetables and stuff like that. And it was a little harder to find food. So that made it tough, I think, for some of the fighters that were coming down from weight and then trying to figure out ways to replenish and
And for those that don't know, they weigh you in every 2 days or so. So every time that you're fighting, you have to get weighed in over and over again. It's not that you come in once and then you're set for the week of the IFMAs. It's just every couple of days you have to be weighing in. So for fighters,
down
that situation, that can extinguish your fire completely.
And like especially the females, but the males too. Like, I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something different. I mean, pretty much all of our females look like they were in the wrong weight class, like they were in a higher weight class than they should have been. It was weird, Like Erin looked undersized, and Erin's short, but I mean, you know her. She's pretty cut up. She's got big arms. She's got big legs. I mean, we put on, I think, from last year to this year, specifically for this tournament, about 4 pounds of like just straight muscle, to get her a little bit bigger.
There's also a limit to how much you can weigh.
What's that?
There's also a limit of how much weight you can be putting back on and how much weight that you're cutting, right?
Yeah, because you have to, they're not really checking it, but you don't want to put on 10 pounds and then cut 10 pounds again. So you got to stay within a certain threshold to continue to make the weight. But yeah,
so for those listening, California started implementing that, and actually they are following it. It's no longer something like that's provisional and that they are telling you, oh, we might be doing this. They're actually doing it. So I was weighed in 3 times when I was there in LA for the week of Glory. So you get weighed in right when you get there to make sure that you're within like a certain percentage of the weight. You get weighed in at the actual weigh-ins, and then you get weighed in again the day of your fight. And if you are too far above, they might sanction you to never be able to fight at that weight class again. That every time you fight in California, you're going to have to fight at the next weight class up, which was really interesting because they gave me Troy 2 weeks on like 17 days notice when I was supposed to be fighting at 187. So I was putting on weight, and then they put me in a different weight class. So I already had my physical done, but if I didn't have my physical done yet, then they wouldn't have cleared me to even be able to fight him.
Yeah, that's crazy. But it's probably good. I think it's going to be healthier. But it was definitely I think the heat, the food, and the cutting definitely seemed to something. It definitely took a toll on them a little bit more this year. It seemed a little easier to do it last year. I don't know what it was, but
okay, so explain what you think the differences are between the different nations, because I one obvious one that just keeps coming up is the funding. And with the US, it looked like such a strong team, and then the big names that were supposed to be within the team seems like every single one of them got kind of cut off or fell off. And I think a big part of that, I would guess at least, is the finances.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, they have different incentive. They have funding. It's like fighting a bunch of Ivan Dragos. Like it's like they're being made in a lab. Some of these athletes, that's kind of what it feels like. But they're, I'm sure most of their whole focus is literally just fighting this tournament. They definitely have their strength and conditioning. They have their weight cut protocols. Everything they do is like down to the T for sure. I mean, it's obvious because this year, especially, like I said, it seemed like a lot of people dropped down a weight class. Like the girl Erin fought in the first round, Anel Angerville from France, usually fights at 60 kilograms. And I'm pretty sure the girl who won the whole thing from Italy, Martine, I'm pretty sure she's fought a bunch at 60 kilograms too, but they were having no problem making that weight, which is crazy because Erin going down to 54 would be a battle, but those girls are more her size. So there's definitely something that they have figured out. That was one of the things I was talking about in my post the other day too. Like I'm going to make it my job over the next year to like, I have a buddy of mine who's a very good nutritionist. He works with Kat Zingano. He's been the one getting her down to 125 for the UFC. His name's Josh Ford. He's a really, really good trainer, black belt in jiu-jitsu. really awesome tattoo artist too. But I'm gonna actually start.
Man of many talents.
Yeah, he's a beast, man. He makes tattoo guns too. He's like really famous for that.
All right, cool. He's an engineer on top of it.
Just a vicious dude, very smart. So I'm gonna get with him, try to see if I can learn some of his Jedi tricks, and hopefully next year as we get closer, start checking in with some of the athletes like a month or so out, and like help guide them down and make sure that they're able to eat, and then also tell them what to bring with them just in case, because I heard potentially we might be in Malaysia next year, so I'm assuming the food situation is going to be a little tricky there too. So we're just going to make sure that
Maybe I'll be right next door.
yeah, we got to make sure that we bring the right stuff to eat and fuel, and make sure that everyone's good to go there. But yeah, and then at the end of the day, I mean, they get a come in, they get a gold medal for or they get paid big for winning the gold medal. So some of these people's lives change after they win.
Yeah.
And I also think the Olympics being kind of imminent now is also changing the dynamic of the athletes that are coming to these, because now it's like, okay, this is going to end up being the path to the Olympics. It's going to start pulling out the people that are really, really solid. Like I said, the girl that Aaron fought first is a very seasoned pro from France who's fought a Muay Thai Grand Prix. And the girl who won the whole thing's Italian, fought in Bellator kickboxing. And she actually, so the way it played out this year, the girl Aaron lost to was the silver medalist. She lost to the Italian girl who's fought on Bellator kickboxing. And the Italian girl knocked out last year's winner, who Aaron lost to in the finals in the second round. And that girl's won the last 2 years in a row. So just like the girl who's won the last 2 years in a row won a bronze this year. Like that's how it.
So what are some of the things that you believe we need to start competing on the same level? So for those that haven't seen the picture, we have we scored 1 medal, 2 medals.
We got a gold with Oscar in the B class, and then 2 bronze medals. Angela Whitley won the bronze. Remember Angela?
Is that in the B class or the A class?
That's A class. Females only have A class. And then
so we had no gold medals, no silver medals in the A class.
No.
Yeah. And we had a 32% win percentage as the US. And so comparative to Russia and Thailand had a 79 win percentage, so almost 80%. Russia had a 77 win percentage. They had 22 medals in total. And then Thailand had 5 golds. I'm guessing the Thailand team might have been smaller.
Very small, but they're all beasts,
So, I mean, just looking at those numbers, like comparing 22 medals to 1 medal, what do we do to advance this sport in the US? Do you think it's just because it's so new to us that like we're starting to finally grow? I think it's a combination of things. I think it's a combination of a lot of gyms don't know the scoring. A lot of the gyms are MMA. There's a lot of MMA. There's a lot of MMA striking here.
Yeah.
It's not as pure. Like you just see the fundamentals of some of these other countries like Russia, Ukraine. When we were in the WK Worlds, Ukraine had really, really good fundamentals. Obviously Thailand, and it looks like we're kind of at a complete, like we are B class in comparison to them when looking at like even fundamentals. So I think a big part of it is even the teaching that's happening in the States, the scoring, the understanding of scoring. After I lived in Thailand and I spent a long time like trying to learn the scoring system, talking to Petch Benchamek, doing the different projects for Nak Muay Nation and really studying it. I started to realize how little we know. Like I was just at the past Friday night fights, and then they're like, if it's a Muay Thai fight, we're gonna score it like a Muay Thai fight. I'm like, I'm just wondering, what is Muay Thai scoring to you? And when they described it, it was the complete opposite of what it really is.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, for us, like our pros right now, level wise, are should be in the B class. and like we need to send pros to the B class and let them get a taste of the tournament, see how far they can go, try to win that there, and then move on to A class first. And because I'll tell you the crazy thing is the IFMA is not, it's not a tie fight.
So how did they score? Because all right, I'm gonna shoot this comment up on the screen.
Yeah.
And you explain to me what it is, because I wasn't there in person. So
Right.
I would definitely like to know myself what they're scoring.
So and here's I think this is the most interesting thing in general. So our mindset is going to be the thing that is going to turn the tide, and we have to change it almost completely, because this isn't, even though this is like the highest level of Muay Thai that you can probably get into, it's not the Muay Thai that you think you're going to see. So it's less, a lot of times it ends up being less of a fight and more of a game. So in a game, you win a game by scoring and not being scored on. That's pretty much, that's the IFMA. Now, I was not going to say it. I'm not going to sit here and say that there aren't just some beasts that'll come out there and just run somebody over and knock them out and just outclass them. But for the most part, like the Russians, the people that are winning a ton of medals, it's because they know how to play the game. And the game, for the most part, jab cross, teep, clinch, break the posture, you win. That's basically what it boils down to. A hard jab cross down the middle to snap the head back is a big score. The teep's a big score because it moves them, right? And most of these countries, like most of them, what they're really
It's
good
not
at
scoring like
is
body kicks and moving, do the same. I saw Asa was doing a great job of that with his switch kick.
Touch and move and get out. Asa mix it up beautifully. Asa is the thing that we are all kind of aspiring to as American fighters, to actually look slick in there. The problem at IFMA is you don't have as much time to look slick. So like that's like the mindset thing that I'm talking about. So when we start off fighting here in the States and we're amateur fighters, it's more of like a brawl. It's just like when it's the same mirror image of like when you first start off sparring. When you first start off sparring, all you're trying to do is land shit. So you don't even realize that you're like blasting your partner's head off. And then we all tell each other like, okay, the as you get more experience, the more technical you get, the more relaxed you are. Like that's how you have to fight. And then we kind of aspire to be smooth in the ring and to look good and to look dominant and to just look better than the other person. So
how often do we teach being conscious of scoring and especially in the gym? I think that's like breaking it down to like what is step one, like for us to be able to do it in the worlds on the biggest stage of them all. I think step one is being within the gym and telling the guys to start keeping track as they're going throughout the round, because then you don't have to be thinking about winning the round by hurting your opponent. You can be worried about winning the round. Like sparring, you shouldn't be thinking to win rounds, right? Like hurting your partner. And I think a lot of Americans think that like, oh, if to win a round, I have to like really hurt them, versus like you said, playing the game, being in like even when you're sparring, keeping track. Okay, 2 kicks, 2 kicks, 3 kicks. Yeah. I've been doing that with my guys, just as they're sparring, and I'm teaching the pro class, which is like more our fight team, right? Mm-hmm. I'm kind of telling him like, yo, you're up 3, you're up 4. Like, you know, every time he's coming in with a cross and he's landing that switch kick. The other guy's trying to do something with a jab. It's not working too much. Yeah. I'm like, man, like you're 4 behind. You got to land 4.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like a perfect system, but at least you have an idea.
No, it's important. But like I said, the most basic European like game plan that you'll see at IFMA, bell rings, they come across the ring, the European guy or girl, whatever, throws a hard 1-2 or a 3-2 or whatever, snaps the person's head back, grabs the clinch, breaks their posture. A lot of times they don't even look for a knee. They just break the posture, or they'll put their shin in, break their posture. The ref will stop it, separate them, and that person won the exchange because they scored with the punches. They got to the clinch. They got to the dominant position, so now they're up, right? And then as soon as they break, if the other person tries to attack, then that person will teep to stop their attack. They just scored with the teep, go back to the punches, hit the clinch again, break the posture, get the break. And it becomes like a game. So they're just racking up points. And then the end of the round comes, you look at the scoreboard, you're down. And it's not like I think the thing that a lot of times ends up getting really frustrating is you might not even feel like it's not like you're getting your ass beat, but you're not really in the fight because they're playing a completely different game. Whereas we're like I said, the higher level that we get here, we're thinking like we need to be smooth and we need to slow it down and we're not going to go in there and brawl and we're not going to just wing shots and stuff like that. But the name of the game here is to win points a lot of times. So if you look at the Europeans, they're throwing everything into every combination that they throw, and they're getting to the clinch and not necessarily looking to like be really active with knees and stuff like that. They're going to break your posture and get the ref to break it up, and then they won that exchange. The difference this year, though, was with the females. Erin in the first round of her fight, because we've been told, and it's a pretty common knowledge that if you get to the clinch and you get your shin in across the waist and like break their posture down, the ref will step in and separate it, and you won because you broke their posture. This year with the females, if you put your leg up there, they didn't give a shit. They continue to let the other person work their way out of it until they go, and they would just let them clinch for a little while. So that was something that was different too. Is like you kind of have to. I mean, I think it's like that with no matter what, with any situation, any show, any event, whatever. You got to go down there, watch the first 8 or 9 fights, see what's actually going on, and then make your adjustments there in that scenario. But I can tell you, and this is the crazy thing. So perfect example of it. The girl Patricia Axling from Odin Planet. That's the girl Erin fought in the finals last year. Who's won last year, won the year before. She's phenomenal at that specifically. She has a good jab cross right down the middle. She got a really good teep, and she grabs the clinch and she cuts the corner, pushes their face away, breaks their posture, and hangs on them a little bit to like drain the energy out of them. And she just beats everyone on points. Now this year she did the same thing her first fight. Second fight, she did it again. The first round, she won on points against the Italian girl. I actually thought that she lost that round, but the Italian girl lost on points that first round. Round 2, same exact thing. Patricia comes out, lands her punches, moving around. Same thing. She goes throw the punch combination, and then when she went to step in to get the clinch, Martine spin elbow and knocked her out. Caught her. So it's like it's a funny thing because the game that she was playing is the safe one, and it is one that has won her a ton of fights on the world stage and probably all the European championships and stuff she's won. She's probably done the exact same way. This one girl is just a savage and figured out how to turn it on her this one time, caught her with a spinning elbow because she knew right after she threw her punch combination, she let in with her head kind of reaching to the elbow. So it's like
we're constantly adjusting. We're constantly growing. I mean, the same thing happened to me in the nationals for WK. Is that like every time I would throw the kick, like I knew the 2 is coming, kick 2 is coming, kick 2 is coming, like, and the 2 is working. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm just gonna snatch that 2 and spinning elbow, and that's exactly it's kind of same scenario. Yeah. So let's just go like straight down the line. Like what is the list of things that we just need to accomplish by next year?
Definitely. I think getting the nutrition right, like down to a science.
Okay.
For everyone.
So we have a guide that we're talking to.
We're going to make sure we have that for everyone, just so that there's no guesswork. I feel like that last month, and then especially during the tournament, like that's something that we should take out of the fighters' hands, not only just because they might not know what they're doing, but also just to make one less thing for them to worry about. This is how you're going to make the weight. This is what you need to do. Go run 30 minutes, walk for 10. This is what you're going to eat this is how you're going to rehydrate, like everything down to a science so that they perform as perfectly as possible. 2, obviously try to get the live scoring going in as many places as possible, just so everyone can get used to that feeling of urgency to like get into the fight if they're down. And then the other thing that Corley's really doing a good job. So he's now the vice president of the Pan American portion of IFMA as well too, which is really cool. Is he's going to try to start getting some more competitions between us, Mexico, Canada, and some of the South American countries. Because the other thing that especially us here in the U.S. are struggling with is like, so like for the pros, you guys are fighting tough fights. You guys have tough fights to find, you know, so you find the tough fights, do tough fights. It's a little bit different for you. But since we're also sending amateurs and the qualifiers are these are amateur tournaments, like for Aaron, not to say whatever, but I mean, for the most part, it's going to be hard to find an amateur tournament in the U.S. that she can't win. I mean, at this point, she's gotten to a place where she can do really well at all those tournaments. The big difference is, and I don't just mean her, I mean most of our amateur team that we sent this year are those people, you know. But the difference is the European people their national tournaments are with each other, and their European tournaments are with each other, and same in Asia and everywhere else. So they're fighting a higher level throughout the year to prepare them. They're fighting the same level of people.
It's like national pride versus here. We're kind of distant from that. Like, you know, we're not representing our state. You're not out there like, yeah, Maryland boy.
Yeah, well, I kind of am, but
I'm not doing that with Connecticut.
But no,
I talk shit on Connecticut every other day, man. Fuck this weather.
Like it's just the same people that they're seeing at IFMA are people that they're seeing at their national tournaments and at their European tournaments. Whereas we're fighting a level of people here in the States that aren't as high level as the people in Europe, and then we're trying to jump up to the level of the Europeans once we get there. So they have a different comfort level than we do, because it's just the same. It's like imagine you did a national tournament here, and then you went and fought the same people that you fought in the national tournament overseas. It would be like, yeah, whatever. I already beat these fools. I know what to do.
Yeah, there's a certain level of comfort as well. Yeah.
And so that's something that we had a big meeting with all the coaches and the people involved with the USMF while we were there, and that we all kind of agreed on was like something that we have to find a way to even like get ourselves into some of these other international tournaments. Like I think there's one in Australia coming up, and like Turkey has one that's like open to people. So it's going to be tough financially because we have to like get those funds together to travel to go to those tournaments. But it's important. It's another important step to getting ourselves to that position where we can beat, you know, people all over the world.
And what are the steps when it comes to the funding? Because from what I've seen, even in the Winter Olympics, a lot of the U.S. athletes aren't sponsored athletes. So for it to become a sport where some of the athletes are being sponsored to be flown out there, I mean, how are you going to get the best fighters unless you're going to cover the guys that are already making money doing the sport? I mean, a lot of them, let's say there's guys that are fighting for money to even make the tournament. So like when that tournament was happening, I was offered a fight in Europe for, let's say, like $4,000, right? So think about it that way. I have to skip out on the fight. So, okay, that's minus $4,000. And then I have to spend another $3,000 to go. Yeah. So for me to go and fight with headgear on, it's going to cost me $7,000 versus, okay, I can make a couple grand here, flying to Europe, having everything covered. Yeah. So at least having it be taken care of versus everything coming out of my purse. A lot of fighters aren't making that much money in the first place. Yep. So at least for the A team to be covered in some type of way, like how can we do that? Like is IFMA taking any steps towards that?
I mean, IFMA's not, they don't care, but
not IFMA, but USMF then.
USMF, yeah, USMF. I mean, Corley obviously wants the whole team to be funded at some point. I mean, that would be that's his ultimate goal. You know, with all the other teams being in the same position, it obviously makes it easier for them to just focus on what they're doing. But I know also getting some more people involved in the process is going to help out later too. Jeff from Triumphant Combat in California has offered to give any fighter that wins a gold there a 3-fight contract and a signing bonus. So there's some people that are starting to peak their interest, and they're going to start getting involved. And I think that that's going to help a lot too, for there to be like an incentive.
100%. I mean, that sounds sexy to me.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Damn, I was like, man, I'm about to do it myself.
Especially if you're like an amateur athlete, you're coming up, and then you're like, like a lot of guys will have a lot of fights on small promotions.
Yep.
So for you to get started off, in something like that, that would be huge.
Yes,
I mean, like I'm lucky that I got started off in the promotions that I did.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of work when it comes to, marketing myself.
Mm-hmm.
But for you to be able to do a tournament and kind of have like that set up, I mean, it's kind of like the Ultimate Fighter thing or the Contender Series, whatever it may be. Like you do it on that stage, you prove yourself, and all right, how do you do now on the real stage when it comes to like media and performance and everything that comes with that?
It's tough, and I'm like coming back now. I'm like, I'm kind of racking my brain too, like how like other ways that I can try to figure out things to raise funds and get more money into the USMF account to make it easier to send people and that kind of thing. Like I would like to even just myself figure out a way to get like to raise funds to where even if somebody wins a gold that we just reimburse them. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you paid $3,000 to get down here, or just give us all your receipts for all your stuff, and then boom, here's your money back. You know what I mean? Thank you for winning us a gold. I love you right now. It's not even something like that. So if I can, that's something that I'm going to personally just try to take on, about like just finding some more sponsors and just doing some more fundraising, stuff like that, to see if that's something that we can make possible as well too.
Just an account allocated to for that
right
incentive itself.
Yeah. And then I mean, it's one of those things too where if you win this thing, like the shows are going to want you too. It means something to everyone all over the world. So to be able to cover the trip and then have Jeff making offers like that, and if we get other people involved in the same capacity where they can help the athletes out somehow, I think it could turn into like a good thing.
Where can people check out some of the information when it comes to the tournament? What are some of the steps that other gyms can take? Let's say there's instructors listening, there's fighters listening, there's investors or sponsors listening. What steps can each one of those groups of people take?
I mean, obviously reach out to Corley or Marcy Maxwell, the VP. I'm had mentioned before, and we kind of got down to
Michael Chase Corley, right?
I brought up to them about making like a media kit. So that's something I want to work on now too, like having a media kit for the USMF where, if you donate this much, you get this, that kind of thing. So I think that could go a long way too, just to help get more people involved in sponsorship. Athletes and coaches, get on that YouTube channel and watch these fights. I think that's probably the most important thing in the world. Is to
what YouTube channel is that?
The IFMA. Let me look it up exactly so I don't say the wrong thing. Yeah, the IFMA channel. I mean, they broadcast all the stuff live as it's going on during the week.
And then you can watch it back and kind of take example of how people are performing, what people are doing, just as a study for trainers to have.
Yeah, I think that's like probably one of the most important things for people to do. And then even still, it's like it's International Federation of Muay Thai Amateur, IFMA. That's their YouTube channel. And then even still, like, it's crazy looking at the videos on YouTube. It doesn't feel the same as it feels when you're there live. So like, never. Some people will look at it and be like, I can do that. It's different, And like I said, even in the way of just the fact that they have a completely different, in my opinion, and everyone else might even disagree with me, but taking a step back, looking at it from the outside in, like the way you said, you know how I am, like I have what everyone tells me, and I'm like, okay, I'll take all that information in and process it my own way, and I'm going to step back and I'm going to look at what's going on and trust what I'm seeing more. There's a game that's being played at this tournament of how that allows you to win, and you have to understand it. And like I said, there's just when like I said, going back to when you first started off, like your very first Muay Thai tournament, like I know all my people were like, they went in there and just wrecked. And then, you get your arm raised and it's like, yeah, I'm a beast. And then, as you continue on fighting, like you feel embarrassed to fight that way anymore. Like you're like, I can't fight like that. I have to be a certain way. I have to be poised, not to slip and make people look like shit. I want to be dominant. These people want to win. I mean, because some of these people might get like $20,000 or an apartment or a car. Like their whole life is going to change. They don't care if it looks beautiful. They're not taking their time in the first round to figure you out or whatever. They're going to blast you in the face. They're going to teep the shit out of you. They're going to put you in the clinch. They're going to break your posture. They're going to wait for the ref to break it up, and then they're going to do it again and again and again and again and again until they get their hand raised.
You're describing me in my last few fights in a way.
Dude, your style and your height and everything would have been really good down there. You definitely have a good style for what needs to be done there to win.
I think my knowledge in the clinch, I think, is something that would definitely be complementary to what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Because I can definitely do what you described, like just kind of use the long punches to get into the clinch and do that. I haven't been able to display, obviously, because I've been fighting for glory. Right. And then previously I was training at CSA before the chip fight, so I was more like, kick focused and Dutch style focused, whatever. But yeah, I'm obviously going back to my roots now, moving back to Thailand on Monday. So anyone that's listening tomorrow, Sean and I are going to be live at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be doing episode number 100, the Muay Thai Guys podcast, going into 3 digits in the episodes. And then we're going to be linking back up in Thailand after. It looks like I'll be moving there long term again. I got my one-way ticket, got my visa for 9 months. And yeah, the next fight again is going to probably be with Glory. I'm getting my nose healed up. It's looking like Glory Chicago in October. I'm not gonna list anything yet. You know how it is. Things get changed all the time. But I think for the first time I might be getting a matchup where I know who my opponent is and I actually know ahead of time versus, just kind of getting thrown in to fill in spots and things like that. So
good.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff that I'll cover tomorrow when we're getting more into like personal details and catching up with Sean. But yeah, just make sure you guys tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. So anything else you want to leave the people with? Any tags, any shout outs, anything like that?
Did you catch the Yawachai and Kublin fight by any chance? I'll send you a link to that when we get off of here. That was like the biggest fight I think of the tournament. Everyone's kind of looking forward to, because Yawachai fights at Top King, and obviously Kublin's I think he's like an 18-time world champion or something like that.
That's what's insane. You have these celebrities fighting, and then it's like as if you're watching boxing, and you have Tyson in there competing against, whoever, for like Parker, just people from all over the world, just taking superstars from every country. Like, what do they have? Yotzenklein in there before. Yeah, they've had. You had Artem Levin.
Yeah.
Fighting amateurs.
Yeah. Who was there last year? And I don't know why I'm just drawing a brain. I think Super Bond. Super Bond was there last year. People were leaving on stretchers. Literally, like carrying them out on stretchers. So I like I said, just I hope that people tune in. I hope that people keep their eyes peeled for any kind of way to help the USMF out. We're working on, like I said, spoke to a couple different promoters about starting to do the live scoring, which I think will be really beneficial to all the fighters here and to the crowd and everybody else. I think it's just only going to move things in a positive light. Yeah, man, and that's pretty much it. Also, the last thing real quick before we go, East Coast Muay Thai shows. We got to get it together, man. We're having too many shows on the same date. Everyone's bunching everything up together. Like the month of June and July are insane already. Like every Muay Thai show that I usually like to put people on is in July, and most of them are doubled up on each weekend. So I'm hoping that we can try to get some kind of like committee or something together and like organize a little bit better, because then if all these shows are in July, they're going to be spread out between the fighters, and then everyone's probably not going to get to fight again until like September. It's really crazy right now what's going on. I think we need to communicate a little bit better as far as that kind of stuff goes. It's just kind of ridiculous.
I'm going to get some feedback from your computer, I think. No, it sounds okay. All right. I think a lot of these promotions just need to look at what is actually happening, versus a lot of them are coming from a business mindset that does not apply in our world, in our community. Mm-hmm. This is because one, I look at it from the business side as well, because I talk to a lot of these promoters on a more professional level. And then I also look at it from the perspective of a fighter. And then I look at it from the perspective of the community as a whole, and what I hear people talking about, and why people go, why people buy tickets. And honestly, people do not follow promotions. I'm sorry, but like they just simply don't just follow a promotion. People follow fighters. So if you're putting on a show and it's well done and you treat the fighters well, they will talk about it. And that's what gets talked about in the community. There's a reason why certain shows are falling off. There's a reason why certain shows are losing TV deals, etc. Because the fighters talk amongst each other. The trainers all talk amongst each other. I can list every top trainer in the country that I've been in a chat with that has spoken about each promotion. So it doesn't go down to the numbers. Unfortunately, it doesn't. It's about the relationships these promotions have with the fighters. So instead of looking at it, this promotion in New York is affecting this one that's happening in Connecticut, or vice versa, that does not happen. Unfortunately, like that's just not how it works in our community. Our community sticks as a community. So we're going to watch both. If you have it on a different weekend. So stop fucking competing with each other as a promotion.
Really,
and it's okay to be a fan of Muay Thai and be a fan of kickboxing as well. Why do I actually like? I got asked about the pay with Glory and things like that. So let me clear it up. No, that's not the actual pay structure, because you get paid for media rights and things like that. So no, they're not listing the real money. On top of it, they have treated me rather well outside of this whole matchup thing or whatever, because this is what happens when it comes to fighting. Like, you're coming up, you have however many fights, and I'm fighting against guys that are the best in the world. So yeah, sometimes I got to go and take some risks and chances, but still being treated really, really well when it comes to all the people that are working for the promotion. You get paid cash when you get there. When it comes to expenses while you're there, I mean, like I got $400 in cash just to play around with when it comes to food and whatnot. Yeah. And then on top of that, they don't say anything to me about when it comes to my business stuff outside of it. When it comes to podcasts and promoting other promotions, they don't worry about other promotions. They worry about being better as a promotion. Mm-hmm. And that's why I will never say anything negative about Glory, because they have only been doing, in my eyes, they're doing the big boy thing. Yeah. Worrying about being better and putting on better shows.
Yep. That's
so what I think these promotions that are sold just need to take advantage of that. Take example. Like, why are you worrying about this other promotion and trying to compete with it, putting it on the same weekend? So what you're saying, I 100% agree with. It's like, you, by selling out on the same day as another promotion, it's not going to make you like kick that one out of the park now, and then like you're the big boss now in the park. Like
And there's not one single show in America that can keep every single fighter busy every single show. So there's no reason for them to be pissed at people for fighting on other shows. There's no reason for them to be trying to take other shows out, because there's not one single show that runs a show every week. So until somebody does that and can actually put on like 100,000 fighters on every single show, like it's not even worth trying to do. Like they should spread out, coordinate, cooperate a little bit more, communicate with each other, understand that we're all in this together. We're all trying to grow, and just be a little bit better about that kind of thing. So that way we're not just stepping on each other's toes. And then what happens? They slowly start to fall off one by one, you know?
Awesome. It's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure catching up with you, man. Yeah, I hope we get some time in training. It's been a little bit, so it would be lovely to do that. And maybe if Muzz ends up in Malaysia next year, I'll most likely still be in Thailand, and I'll be Thailand trained, ready to go. Or before one of the glory events that I'm coming back for in the States. It's kind of the goal, is to keep the sharpness I had when I turned pro. Like all my fights up to Brett were, I was Thailand trained. And then after that, there's obviously a correlation between type of work I'm getting in the States and the type of work I was getting in Thailand. So, you just have to go with what's, again, we had a reality check, and I've had a reality check myself. So, got to take advantage of what we can control. So Thank you again for coming on. Everyone that's listening again, if you're listening on iTunes, I apologize. If you're listening live tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, and for those listening on iTunes, this is going to be out most likely on Sunday. So I hope you're enjoying us being back with episode 99, and episode 100 will be coming out the following week. We have Thailand training camp happening in July and August. Sean and I are doing, so this is kind of special because we have group classes that are private, meaning it's outside the actual Thai, like it's in the same camp as where the Thai trainers are teaching. However, it's going to be on separate hours. So what me and Sean are going to be teaching is going to be a mix of actual technical instruction. We're going to be doing a number of seminars on top of actual Thai training. So you're going to get the entire experience. Sean lives on the island. I lived on the island for an accumulation of over a year. So we're going to be living on the beach on a resort. We're going to be touring around the island, showing you all the spots, passing down our knowledge when it comes to everything, when it comes to business, when it comes to media, when it comes to scoring. We're going to be breaking down fights, watching them with you guys, hanging out with you guys, lunch, dinner, breakfast, all the fun stuff. And then on top of it, we're going to be doing the Thai style training alongside the seminars and everything else going on. So really looking forward to it. So it's pretty much private training every single day for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, or you can stay the entire 8 weeks, July and August. So head to thailandtrainingcamp.com/summer, and you can check out all the information, the prices, everything there. The spots are filling up. So grab your Thailand tickets soon. You guys all have a beautiful day. We'll be back next week with Sean. Take care.